Andreas is now in session. The Honorable Judge York is presiding.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated at this time. We are here today for the State of San Andreas versus Giovanna. I'm going to take a breath before I pronounce this lovely lady's last name. Proolmiannsoki. Am I close? I hope so. All right, this is case number 21-18017. Prosecution and defense, if you would give your names for the record, please.
For the honor for the state is Anton Stiegl.
Boo.
And for defense,
Your Honor, for defense, it's Jessica Patterson.
Xander, Fitzgerald.
And Cyrus.
what a team. My goodness. All right, prosecution, would you go ahead and read the charges, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, today the defendant has been charged with one-time PC 2102 attempted murder of a peace officer, PC 2105 kidnapping, PC 3112 fleeing and eluding on foot.
And how does your client plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
To all charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then we will begin with opening statements. Prosecution, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the court, today we hear regarding an incident that happened on October 6th. At October 6th around 12 a.m. EST. An off-duty officer, Mr. Danny Murphy, was just on his way toward Pillbox Medical after he was injured by some locals and his leg was hurting. While he was walking towards Pillbox, the defendant and one other suspect picked the off-duty officer, Mr. Danny Murphy, up, kidnapped him, and brought him to an unknown location, which later turned out to be Rockford. After they talked to him, the defendant pulled out a knife and stabbed the off-duty officer, Mr. Murphy, twice. He was stabbed in the leg, in the stomach, and he had a head injury. After that, the defendant fled the scene in a vehicle and was shortly spotted by two responding officers. They didn't provide chase, but due to the fact that an off-duty officer was attacked, it was more than qualified to identify the defendant today, and that's why we're here today.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the state believes that we have more than efficient evidence to convict the defendant today of all charges listed above. Thank you.
Thank you, prosecution. Just going to make a brief announcement, especially to those of you in the, in the stands there that may or may not be on bail, that if you are found in contempt of court, which means excessively talking, yelling things out, being disruptive to my court, just remember that your bail conditions will be broken and you'll be sent to jail. All right. Let's continue with the defense's opening statement, please.
May it please the court, during this trial, the prosecution will demonstrate for themselves that they have failed to provide evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that our client committed this crime. In fact, this entire case is littered with circumstantial evidence that hardly even suggests our client was even present at the scene. In a desperate attempt to notch a conviction on his belt, the district's attorney's office has hedged its bet on spurious identification and the witness testimony of a convicted violent felon. Today, the defense will prove that our client is innocent.
All right, thank you. Just want to confirm that everybody's witnesses are here. Prosecution, are all your witnesses here?
Yes, Your Honor.
And defense, your called witness?
She is not here. There's a problem with Liberty City, but we can proceed without her.
All right. Okay, so prosecution, you may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor, and they would like to call Danny Murphy to the stand.
Mr. Murphy, if you'd come up to your left and speak to the bailiff, please.
Okay, you want to raise your hands for me?
Nice and loud.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Let's
Mr.
stand over here to
Murphy.
the right.
Yeah.
There you
Right
go.
in there, and you'll see a microphone in front of you. All right, Mr. Stiegl.
How you doing, Mr. Murphy?
I'm good. How about yourself?
All good. How did you recover from your wounds? You back to full force?
Yes, at the moment I am.
It's great to hear. So, why don't you run me through what happened on October 6th at around midnight?
So I had been run over by a local crossing the street.
Your Honor, hold on. Your Honor, is it just me because it sounds like there's so much wind I barely understand him? Is it just me?
Oh, it is a
That better?
little windy, but I can hear him. You might have to come a little, turn yourself and position yourself in a fantastic way.
Okay, keep talking. So,
Okay. So basically, had received an injury induced by a local who ran me over. My leg was injured, and I was trying to find a way to get to Pillbox. A woman who was riding with Candice, who stated herself to be Giovanna, had picked me up and told me they would bring me to Pillbox. They only had a two-seater, so they ended up getting me in the trunk, so I couldn't see exactly where we were going. Ended up coming out somewhere around Rockford. She had cut off a piece of my pant leg and tried to wrap a compression bandage around it in hopes that that would work. Did not. After that, I tried to walk away. I got stabbed by Giovanna and continued to run, but I was bleeding a lot, so I got stabbed again. And I passed out for a little bit. I came to, and Stan Phillips and one other officer were helping me.
okay, appreciate it. All right. So, okay. Do you recall what vehicle you got put in?
It was, I think, like a brownish Blista. It was a compact of some sort. I'm not exactly sure the make.
Okay. Did they force you in the trunk?
They did not force me into the trunk, as I would believed I was being brought to Pillbox.
Okay. Do you have any personal or professional relationship with the defendant?
No. That would be the first time I've met Giovanna.
Okay. Do you have any personal or professional relationship with the other woman involved?
I've known Candice for a while, yeah.
Okay. Did they tell you why they you said they cut off your pants?
I believe that she cut off my pants just to be able to get to my leg and put a bandage on it.
Did that help at all?
No.
So you were bleeding at the time?
At the time, no, it was just some bruising, but the compression bandage was supposed to kind of just apply pressure to it, try to help it.
Is that something you would do if you respond to a scene, medical wise, for bruises?
For a bruise, I would generally crack an ice pack and apply it, and then wrap a compression bandage around it.
Okay. So you were talking with her, and then did she stab you all of a sudden, or was there like some kind of exchange beforehand?
They had me watching some sort of video at the hotel that I was brought to. I'm not exactly sure the nature of the video, but it seemed to have some sort of ties to a cult in a way. They had me watch that to try and distract me from what was going on. But by the time I tried to walk away, I had already been stabbed at one time. And after running, as I said, I got stabbed again, and then I passed out.
Okay. If you could quickly look at the docket for me, please. There should be a
Okay.
copy in front of you. The weapon that was used against you, is that the weapon displayed in Exhibit D1?
The one that was left beside me, I do believe so, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So after getting stabbed once, you said you ran away and you got stabbed again.
Yep.
How many times do you get stabbed in total?
It was 2 times in total.
Okay. Did the defendant or the other defendant ever rob you?
None of my belongings were taken, though.
Okay. Did they leave the scene immediately after assaulting you?
Yes.
Was the defendant that's present today wearing any face cover, any mask?
Yes, she was. It was a brown in color dress with like a cowl over her face.
Were you able to ID the suspect? I'm sorry, the defendant.
Presently, no, but if I heard her speak, I would probably be able to.
Okay. Do you recall what happened after you got stabbed?
I woke up on scene. Somebody tried to wake me up. It was Stan Phillips and another trooper. I couldn't remember her name exactly. But they gave me medical on scene and got me stable before we transported to Pillbox.
Is the other trooper Max Heywood?
I believe so. The night's a little bit foggy for me, considering everything that happened. I'm sorry.
Right. If you quickly take a look at Exhibit C1, are those the wounds that were documented that happened to you?
Yes, those are the ones.
Okay, thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions, Yana.
All right. Defense, you have any questions?
Good afternoon, Detective Murphy.
Can I get you to speak up nice and loudly, please?
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Detective Murphy.
Good afternoon, hon. How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you, sir?
Not too bad.
It's my understanding that the prosecutor is running a little short on time. I'm going to ask you a set of questions. You can just answer with a yes or no. If I need you to explain or anything like that, I'll ask you to further elaborate, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So you stated earlier that you got in the car willfully at the start, right?
In the beginning, yes.
Right. And you'd agree that they only ever took you one time, right?
Yes.
Right. You testified a little bit to the fact that you were stabbed twice. You also stated, I noticed that you stated that you woke up, right?
Yes,
So you'd agree you lost consciousness?
I did from the blood loss.
You'd agree that the events that happened, it's pretty foggy in your memory, right?
The after the fact, yes, just because of how lightheaded I was, but everything leading up to, I'm pretty clear on.
And just to confirm here, you'd agree that you testified on direct examination that you stated that your memory is a little foggy, right?
On the events
You can just
after,
answer yes.
yes.
You stated on direct examination that it was a brownish compact car. You didn't quite remember the exact model, right?
Yes, it was a compact.
At any point, did you ever get the plate of that vehicle?
I did not know.
To your knowledge, did the plate... Actually, sorry, I'm going to rephrase my question. To your knowledge, did any officers ever get the plate of the vehicle?
Not to my knowledge.
You stated a little bit that you know Candice quite well, right?
I've known her for a while, yes.
You'd agree you never met the defendant before?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about a couple of the exhibits, if you don't mind. If you could direct your attention to, let me pull up the exact exhibits, so I don't be on the wrong one here. It's labeled as photo evidence B1. I think it's called photo. Let me clarify. I believe it's called photo from the defendant or something. To
It's
that
called photo evidence from the defendant.
Yeah, B1. If you could take a look at that for me.
Okay.
So you'd agree that this is what the defendant looked like when she was arrested?
When she was arrested, yes.
I'm sorry. You'd also agree that you couldn't visually identify the person from the actual incident itself, right?
Yes, she was wearing a face covering.
You stated on direct examination that she stated her name was Giovanna, right?
Yep.
You acknowledge you gave a video statement to Captain Stan Phillips.
Yes.
You'd agree that you stated to Captain Phillips that she identified herself as Gio, right?
Yes.
So you would agree she identified herself as Gio?
That I would.
And sorry, just for my clarity, what was the time of the day at the time of the incident?
Sometime around midnight.
All right, so it was pretty dark out?
Yeah.
You'd agree that you never saw any identification from the defendant?
Yes.
You'd agree that you never got any fingerprint from the defendant?
Yes.
You'd agree that you never had any previous visual contact with the defendant?
Yes.
You'd agree that no blood samples were collected?
I wouldn't agree with that because I wasn't there.
Okay. So you're unsure if any blood samples were collected?
Personally, yes.
If you could take a look at the evidence for me for a quick minute. And then you can just look through A1 through G1 and let me know once you've done that.
I'm on there. I see it.
If you could just look through all of the exhibits, A1 through G1.
What's the questions?
Oh, there's no question yet.
Defense, are you gonna ask a question?
Which one are you referring to exactly?
I was saying A1 through G1.
Yeah, I have all of them here.
You'd agree that through that evidence there was no blood samples collected? Oh, sorry, 1 second. Sir.
1 moment, please. Never a dull day. Oh, wonderful. All right. Mr. Hunt, your question.
Sure. You'd agree.
It seems to be that way.
You'd agree that from the evidence there was no DNA collected?
That's what it looks like, yes.
So, ultimately, you would agree with me. The way that you are going about identifying the defendant is solely by someone stating that their name was Gio, right?
As I had stated before, if I heard her voice, I would know. I have a very keen ear.
Right. Would you like me to ask my question again?
Go ahead.
Sure. You would agree that right now, the only evidence that you're going off of is the fact that someone said that their name was Gio, right?
Yeah.
Right. You'd agree that anyone can state anything, right?
We do have freedom of speech, yes.
You'd agree I can call you Dan, right?
Yeah.
I could also call you Jake, right?
I mean, no, not really. It's not my name.
But I could call you that, right?
I mean, I would tell you you're wrong.
Right. But I could call you that?
No.
Okay. I'll move on. And just to confirm, you'd agree at no point were you forced into the vehicle, right?
Yes.
You'd agree at no point you were detained and put inside the vehicle?
Yes.
If I could have 1 moment here. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Detective Murphy.
So no questions from defense. That's it?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Prosecution, was there any last questions you had?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Murphy, you are released to go sit down. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Prosecution, your next witness.
Your Honor, can I have a 1-minute recess?
Yes, everyone can stretch their legs for 1 minute and make sure you eat and drink.
Sorry. Is Phillips here? Heywood? Are you Heywood? No, go to What's going on at the break time?
Where's Murphy? What did you do? She like pushed me under the pew.
What, you wouldn't suit you, mind? The Ormond suit, yeah.
Yeah, looks like I'm my grandpa.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar?
For like 20 years now.
Yes, with defense.
I mean,
It.
I think she's been trying to like get past the front area into.
All rise. District Court of San Andreas is back in session. Honorable Judge York presiding.
All right, you may be seated. Miss Gio, would you mind standing up, please? Thank you. Prosecution, you had something you wanted to bring up.
Yes, Your Honor. through the evidence and to a witness statement we collected today, the state is gonna drop all the charges against the defendant.
All right, so the court receives that today. Ms. Gio, all charges have been dropped against you. Your attorneys will speak to you in regard to if there is anything that is owed to you or not. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. This case is dismissed and court is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.